This is my 1980 Toyota pickup rat rod build. And as you can see, it needs to be lowered in the rear, and I'm gonna be doing that using this 4-inch block kit. I need to unbolt the U-bolts on both sides. Now, when I unbolt those 4 U-bolts, this axle is not gonna be connected to the truck or the suspension, so it's gonna wanna move around a little bit. And if you look at the front of the axle, that's where the third member is, and that's where a lot of the weight is. So it's most likely gonna wanna tip downward like this. So I'm doing myself a favor right now, and I'm gonna push some wood blocks underneath that third member so that the axle doesn't completely flop over when I unbolt it. 19 millimeter. Take off the stock U-bolts. Now these new 4-inch blocks, they have a 2-degree taper on one side, and that's just to help correct the drivetrain because I'm moving the axle up 4 inches, and you don't want to have a really steep angle on your drive shaft. So it's hard to tell, but if you look really closely, you can see there's maybe a 3/16 inch difference here between the two. So this is my tall side, and this is the low side. Here they are side by side, but you don't really notice the difference until I flip them around. Now to fit the block in between the leaf spring and the axle, I'm gonna need to lift up the jack to raise the axle. And you can see it is kind of tipping forward, but not too bad. Now, I already installed these 3-inch drop leaves in a previous video, but to be honest, they didn't really lower the truck anywhere close to 3 inches. Maybe they're just not solid quite yet. But I'll link that video in the description if you're interested. And these are air shocks because I am still gonna be carrying things in this truck sometimes. I'll put a link to those in the description as well. And I've already done a mini C-notch on the frame in a previous video. I'll link that as well, but this will create the extra clearance I need. I couldn't go this low if I didn't have this mini notch in the frame. And the taller side is gonna face the back of the truck, and that's gonna correct the driveline angle. And you'll notice there's a tab on the top here, and a hole in the bottom of the perch, and a hole in the bottom of the block, which is gonna match this tab here on top of the leaf spring, just like Legos. So now I just need to lift up the axle a little bit and slide the block in. And the block's not fitting because I don't have enough room right here. I just stuffed a little piece of a 2x4 on top of the blocks to raise the front of the axle up a little bit. All right, let's see if that made enough space for the front of the block. It's close, but I can probably squeeze it in there. And when it goes in, you'll know it. It'll kind of lock into place. All right, it's not moving forward or backward now or side to side. It is still twisting, but that's because it's pivoting on those pins. The new extended U-bolts, and my air shocks have a little bit of pressure on them, so they're fully extended. Let's let the air out. That'll make it a lot easier to compress these. All right, and I need to sort of squeeze these together to get them to fit through the holes. For right now, I'm just going to loosely put these on, but that way I can start sort of pulling this together. Turn my impact on the lowest setting. I need a deeper socket. 1 up higher setting. So these still have a little bit of play in them. They're not completely tightened yet, but it's still leaning forward way too much. So instead of a 2x4 here, I'm gonna do a 4x4. And that was the angle I needed. That helped line things up a little bit as far as this way goes. So I've got some more slack here that I can tighten these down and see if that pulls together. And I'm just going back and forth on all 4 bolts just so it tightens down evenly. And then when I tighten this one down, then this one becomes loose and vice versa. So I'm just going back and forth, back and forth. Go up a little higher on the jack here. I don't have enough room for the impact. I've almost closed the gap and they're starting to get kind of tight. So I'm going to stop here and get the other side done and come back and torque everything down last. On the passenger side, I used the floor jack to help compress the shock. This is another way to do it if you're not able to compress the shock by hand. I also removed the wheel for a little more room to work. The next step is going to be torquing those bolts down, and the factory spec for the U-bolts is 86 pound-feet. Now I've got a ways to go yet on these guys. They're just starting to get tight. I feel like I've been torquing these things forever. They're getting really tight. So I just do a few turns, go on to the next one, do a few turns. And as I tighten one side, the opposite side, so from here to here, this side will sometimes feel a little bit looser. So that's why it's important to alternate. I did the other side off camera because it was taking so long. Oh, there's one. It's a good sound. There's two. And then there was one. It's gotta be close. There it is. Now after 100 or so miles, I'll go back and recheck the torque on these guys. I think that's about the perfect stance. It doesn't get much more level than that. So there isn't a cheaper or easier way to lower the rear of your truck. Plus, you don't have to buy shorter shocks because you're not actually changing the mounting point of the shock. You're simply raising the axle from the leaf springs. So here's a look at the drive shaft. Now this is the long wheelbase, so it has the double drive shaft. And you can see it's pretty much going straight across. Maybe up just a hair as it reaches the third member there. That's why it's important to get the taper blocks with the built-in angle if you're going more than a couple inches. I've got a few odds and ends left to complete on this truck before I can get it running. And then once it's on the road, we'll go downstairs to the wall of wheels and we'll pick out some new shoes. Thanks for watching.